Hi, my name's Michelle, and I did my research on gender inequality in the workplace. The main question that I wanted to answer after doing all of my research does discrimination against women still exist in the workplace today? Now, if you were to ask anybody, your parents or your grandparents, your mom, your grandmother, your great grandmother, mostly everyone will tell you that the main responsibilities of women back then were to basically keep the family home running smoothly. They had to cook dinner, clean the house, bring the kids to school, make dinner for the family, things like that. Now, today, women have bigger responsibilities. There are some women who are managers, supervisors, even CEOs of huge companies making executive decisions. So there has been a clear transition in the responsibilities of women in society. With that said, I wanted to find out how we got to where we are today. So the question I wanted to ask was what laws have been put into place to regulate gender discrimination in the workplace? So the first thing that kind of pushed that was the first initial push in closing the gap in inequality in the workplace was the Equal Pay Act, which was signed by Kennedy in 1963, and it basically said that women or man, so basically said that any two people, woman or man, had to be paid equal if they had the same job description, and that led into the case of Phillips versus Martin and Marietta in 1971. Um, the Martin Marietta Corporation had a policy that was brought to the attention of the Supreme Court, and that policy was that women should not be hired who had children in the age range of like preschool age, and this did not apply to men that had children of the same age. So this was ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, and that was another push in the direction which led to of another push in the direction of minimizing and eliminating gender inequality in the workplace, and that led to the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. This was in 2009, and it was signed by Obama. And it is not completely resolved yet today because the Republican senators, did not vote on the act. But the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act basically said that, or gave free reign for women or anyone that was discriminated against, to sue for the money that they were not paid over the course of their career. After looking at that, we want to look at the different types of discrimination in the workplace. So the first is salaries. Prior to the Equal Pay Act of 1963, women made 59 cents for every dollar made by men. In 2010, it was 77 cents for every dollar. And today, women make 81 cents for every dollar that is made by men. While it is obvious that the pay gap is diminishing, it's still there. It's still present. There's still a gap. There's still 19% of a pay gap between men and women in salaries. The next is discrimination as far as status. Now, this can include promotions, hiring, anything have to do with status in a company. While more than half of managers comprise of women, women may only make up 17 of Fortune 500 CEOs. Now, if you do the math, that's less than 3% of the Fortune 500 are made up of women. And I found that this kind of had to do with the idea that for any person, regardless of gender, to advance in their career, life changing decisions needed to be made. So this basically means that men or women, so basically anyone wanting to advance in their career, had to choose between having a family life being promoted in their career. So looking at men and women, most men chose to invest in their career through um, investing in careers and investing in education, while women who were faced with that decision of choosing between family and careers chose to invest in family life. The last form of discrimination that I researched in the workplace was sexual harassment. Um, Unlike the Pay Act of 1963, sexual harassment wasn't touched then, and it wasn't recognized in the workplace. It wasn't even like no one knew what it was until 1980 when it was recognized by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC. It was brought to the attention of the Supreme Court, and later the Supreme Court enforced the guidelines on sexual harassment in the workplace. Um, and the definition that was set by the EEOC was unwelcome sexual advances. It defined it as unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of sexual nature. The United States has proven to be the most proactive and aggressive country in eliminating sexual harassment in the workplace. Although not all situations have been reported, it is clear that um, sexual harassment has been dealt with so much more than it has prior to the 1980s when it wasn't even recognized. So we have only gone up from then. So looking at all three of these things, I want to go back to my original question: does discrimination against women still exist in the workplace? And based on all of my research, I have concluded that yes, it still does exist. Although, although although the difference in equality between men and women is not as distant as it used to be, it's still very much present. Yes, we're a lot better than we were years ago. Years ago, it's still not equal. Yes, laws were signed and acts were signed by past presidents. Courts were brought to the public's attention. But in the end, the thing that's going to help eliminate or at the very least improve discrimination in the workplace is women's intense desire to fight for equality, um, that constant and never ending uh, want to be equal to men is what will ultimately improve and hopefully eliminate uh, discrimination and gender inequality in the workplace.